Okay. Um, just ended with Tobiah, meeting him there at Walmart after what I was trying to articulate, I guess, in that last one was I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think of something, and for some reason Walmart wouldn't get out of my head. It's similar to the other kind of what I would deem spiritual experiences that I've had, where for some reason, some sort of super rational intuition is just like, go here, do this, say this. And when I do, something crazy happens. Could be coincidence. Could be. I don't think so, because it's happened enough to where I, I can't just write it off that easy. So, we'll pick up there. Um, go inside with, into Walmart with Tobiah. We go looking at the backpacks and stuff like that, and we can't really find a good one. And I was like, at my grandmother's, about 30 minutes out, I have a really good Targus backpack that's still in excellent condition from when my parents got it for me for college. Um, a lot of good it did me there, huh? And if you want it's probably pretty good for traveling. If you want it, it's yours. I can go and get it, or you can come with me. It doesn't matter. And he was like, oh, well, actually, that'd be good. So we start walking, and as we're walking out of Walmart, he notices the back of my jacket, and he just kind of laughs at it, and he's like, oh, I like that. I've seen that before, and something along those lines, and so I ended up getting some food for him, and we went back to his tent, and his tent was pitched behind Walmart, and there were two other travelers with him who went by Patches and Monster. Monster was a girl, Patches was a guy, and they had a dog. Can't remember the dog's name, and I feel bad, but we sat and talked with them for a minute, kind of told them the game plan, that I was going to go get him a pack. He was going to come with, and so we got in the car, the two of us, and started heading out to Mammoth. And we start talking about different things, and he kind of asked what I'm doing in Florence, and I tell him kind of what had happened that day, and the night before, and that trying to get a Christian community going. He was like, oh, I've been a part of those, actually. He's like, I've been a part of a lot of different cooperative houses. He's my senior by 5-6 years, I guess, something like that. And he's seen a bit more of the world. Once again, everyone else has their own stories, so I'm going to let that be. But he tells me about the different cooperatives that he's been a part of, whether they were Christian or punk or hippie, whatever, just different ones. And kind of relates to me some of the experiences, and gives me little pointers here and there about stuff. And I was just like, how much better could this have been, And he tells me he just came from Chattanooga, where I was just at, working on the board. They're one of the city councils or whatever. He'd been working for a couple of years. I even looked up a couple of YouTube videos of him like addressing the city council and stuff like that. He was legit, and he was a big voice for the homeless group there, and working in soup kitchens and all different kinds of things. And he just kind of felt like he needed to go out for a while. He had been stationary for a while, so he needed to travel. So they hopped the train in Chattanooga, hoping to go to Memphis, and they ended up in Sheffield, and the train yard had to run and hop the two people who were on the train with them. I don't think they were actually traveling together. They hopped when they were still asleep and stole his pack. And yeah, they ended up in Sheffield, aiming to go to Memphis. And then just happened to be up there, which Sheffield's a minute from that Walmart. There's another Walmart in Sheffield, so the fact that they went up there to the one that I was at was kind of interesting. And the fact that he had all this experience about exactly what I was going through right then, that day. Coincidence, right? I can't tell you how fascinating it was. So we get to the house, and I empty out the backpack, and I'm like, man, any of my clothes and everything, because at this point in my Christian walk, I was like, okay, I'm taking this whole sell your possessions, give things away thing seriously. Anything of mine, because most of my stuff's crap, the stuff I can sell is like DVDs, but what do you even get for that? And who would I give like $5 to? So it was more of just like, if anyone wants this stuff, you can have it. I'm detached from it. Any of my clothes, I mean, so many band shirts that I, you know, different things like that. Movies. I gave away my Xbox 360, all my games. No one wanted the regular Xbox. It could be because it was filled with roach crap and stuff from one of the apartments I was in before. But yeah, I was just giving. I was like, you can take anything you want. But I had already decided that I was going to give him something else, and that was because that year for Christmas I decided to order in bulk a number of copies of Jesus for President and Crazy Love, because those two, and give them to certain people that I knew of who would actually read them. You know, I wasn't just like, hey, go, you know, learn about Jesus. It was like, you know, it was fellow Christians. It was like, man, from what we've talked about before, you need to read Jesus for President, because I want to hear your thoughts on it. I really think you should read this, or maybe Crazy Love was more up their alley. And so I had quite a few copies of it, and I was like, man, I know I was already going to give this to someone else, but this guy, everything he's talking about is, you know, I think he would really like me for president. So I set it out on the bed, and I go to find a pen to, you know, write my contact information in there because I wanted to keep up with him. And he looks down and he goes, oh, Shane Claiborne, man, that guy will mess you up. And I was like, oh, wait, have you already read that? He was like, no, I read The Irresistible Revolution, which is the one I just finished while I was in Chattanooga. And and I was like, oh, well, this one is the one I read first, and it's about his Christian politics and stuff like that, and how Christians, you know, struggling with the concept of Christians and government and war and violence and da-da-da-da. And he's like, oh, wow, that sounds really interesting. So we get it, I take him back to the tent, and I hang out with him for a while, and then I come back in the next morning, because that day, on Tuesday, I had an interview with Skip 310. And so I told him, I was like, I got an interview at such and such time. I think it was like 10:30 or 11 in the morning. And I'm going to go to the interview. I'm going to change, and I'm going to come kick it with you guys until I think it was 2:30 was when Soup Kitchen was for the Cherry Hill Homes low-income housing projects there in Florence that Crosspoint did. And I told him about it, and he was like, oh, Soup Kitchen. He's like, man, I hadn't been a part of a Soup Kitchen in a minute. And he's like, I would really like to get my hands clean instead of getting my hands dirty, you know, and help out with that. And I was like, well, you're more than welcome to. And so I ended up going to the interview, went good, went back to Mammal's, and came back to hang out with them. Went to Soup Kitchen. And he came with, but it was under the conditions that when we got back, I would help them fly signs, because they were trying to get out of Florence that night and get down to, I think the original idea was to get to Birmingham. No, Irondale or Birmingham, I forget which. And so they wanted to fly while they were on, and they were like, man, we'd really like to get this money first, but we understand this is something you really want to do, so go ahead and do it. So we went. He had a blast. He had the Crosspoint people just, you know, it was a really fun day of just getting to share what I had been talking about, like Christian cooperatives and stuff like that, and his work with inner city work and soup kitchens and homelessness and poverty and whatnot. So it was a really good dialogue that happened that day. And on the way back, we're just driving back to the church, riding back to the church in the church van, and he's just like, "Thank you so much. I can't express how thankful I am for meeting you, and that I needed this so much." And that was beautiful. And I did just forget to mention that we went after my interview, when I picked him up. We had a minute, so we went and read at exactly at the table that I had read the day before. He was reading Jesus for President. We were talking. He was showing me artwork and stuff like that. And so we got to hang out there, and that was a good time. I want to throw that in. So we get back. Patches and Monster are in their tent with a bag, including a bucket and a box of KFC chicken, all the fixins, a huge bag of non-perishable and a couple perishable groceries, and over $60 in cash that they had gotten in, I want to say less than 2 hours, but they said it was probably one of the best hauls they've ever had, just standing right there. And they were like, we don't really, we're set for a minute. If you guys just want to go gas jug, gas would be great. So I got to have my first experience gas jugging. We went down to the little kangaroo station down there by Martin's, and we gas jugged, filled it up quick. And I came back and because I told them, I was like, I have nothing to do. Until I get a call back from that job, I've got nothing to do. So I can drive you guys, so you guys can pay for gas because I'm pretty broke. And so we did that, and we gas jugged. And so we piled up in the car, and we drove off into the night. We stopped at Mammal's first to kind of get some drinks, and just kind of have a pit stop before then. And I thought I would be coming back. I was only going to take him a certain way down the road till maybe we found a cheap motel, something like that. Drop him off, come back, and maybe stay the night with him in a hotel. Well, we go and we're driving. We just had a great time, listening to music, talking, and we end up, and I'll post a picture of this thing. We end up can't find a hotel for a decent price that they want, and so we end up in Iron. We go all the way down to Irondale. I was like, forget it. We'll just go all the way down to Irondale. We go down and we go to this place that Patches had crashed at before, and it's a abandoned tractor trailer behind a motel there. And we parked in the motel parking lot, and then hopped over into there and just took our stuff in and crashed there. And there's like mattresses and boxes and signs and stuff like that from other travelers. And we just camped out in the back of the tractor trailer that night. The next morning, or that night, I had been getting text messages from a friend in Memphis. We also started going under a kind of a spiritual reevaluation, and I'd been talking to her about what I'd been reading in Heirs of the Revolution. She was interested in that, and she was trying to do some changes in her life. And that night, during the drive, she was texting me, just being like, I can't do this. I'm so stressed out. I'm alone. She didn't have another person actually there to really, bounce these ideas off of, a support system. And it's just like, I feel completely hopeless. And I was like, man, Lord, if she needs and encouragement, it's like, just let me gas jug enough to drive to Memphis, visit her, talk with her, and go back to Florence. Just enough to do that. So I went out and I was gas jugging, and I started just getting stuff real quick. I had some really cool experiences with people. I mean, the things that happen when you are forced to be humble and ask for people's kindness and they give it, and it's sincere, is you could just have some of those amazing experiences. And on the other side too, when you're helping other people. But to experience both sides of the coin is a really beautiful thing. I'm not gonna tell you about all of them. But so I'm gas jugging, doing good, and then about a certain time, somebody had asked me to come pick him up, and he would help me. So drove down, picked him up, and he was like, I got some flying to fly. So we went onto the off-ramp to the interstate, and I'm sitting there holding a sign that he had made that said, think the economy's bad? Try holding this sign. And so I'm standing there, and all the people I had asked for gas, I had said, I'm trying to go visit a friend and go get back home to Florence. That's what I'm doing. And people were like, okay. Every time I told them exactly what I had asked for, it happened when I was honest with people. But I'm standing there and holding the sign, and the whole time I'm going, I'm not trying to make a statement about the economy. I'm trying to get to see a friend and then get home. That's all I'm trying to do. And while I'm standing there flying this sign for almost an hour, I get less than $1 in change and a granola bar. And then I get waved off by a cop. Luckily, not arrested, but waved off. And so I go and I meet Xvii. I'm like, man, this is crap. Let's just go. Let's get in my car. We'll go gas jug. And we went, and in like less than 30 minutes, had the rest of the tank filled up. I mean, gas jugging, by the way, is where you just have a gas jug and you say, hey, could you just squirt a gas? You don't have to fill it up. Just a little bit helps. So sometimes people will put gas in there. Sometimes they'll fill it up. Sometimes they'll just fill up your tank. I've had that happen. And sometimes people will just, I'll put $5 in your tank, And sometimes people will just give you money for it. And so I had enough. I filled up my car, and we part ways. And I drive to Memphis. Was able to see her and her son. And I think I stayed one night over at their house, couch surfed, and then came back on, see, that was Wednesday morning when we did all that, and then stayed Wednesday night. Okay, yeah, Thursday evening I left because Friday morning we were leaving to go to Gulf Coast Getaway, and that's where I'm going to stop here, and I'll pick up there in the next one.